The dead star system was silent, colder than memory, untouched for thousands of years, its broken planets drifting like shattered bones around a faint dying sun. No one traveled here. No trade routes passed through. No colonies survived the storms that once tore this region apart. It was a forgotten graveyard of metal and stone, until one day, a faint beacon flickered through the darkness, a weak signal bouncing off asteroids and debris fields, reaching the long-range sensors of an alien exploration vessel drifting many light-years away. The explorers aboard the ship Viatha almost ignored it at first. Strange signals in dead systems were usually ghosts, old distress calls, broken tech, drifting satellites. But then the beacon pulsed again, louder this time, sending out coordinates and a single repeating message, unknown vessel, life support failing. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. An unknown vessel in a dead system was rare enough. But a vessel still sending out a distress call after centuries? Impossible. Curiosity pushed them forward. Fear urged them to turn back. Curiosity won. Hours later, their ship dropped out of warp into the silent system. And the moment the view cleared, every explorer froze. Because there, hovering above the cracked remains of a shattered moon, was a warship unlike anything they had ever seen. Massive. Violent in design. Hull scarred with burns and claw marks. Armor plates built thick enough to survive suns. It looked alive, asleep, wounded. And their scanners confirmed the worst possible reading. Class III Deathworld vessel detected. The explorers gasped. A Deathworld-class vessel meant only one thing. The species that built it came from a planet so hostile, so brutal, that only the strongest could survive. Class III Deathworlds were legendary in reports. No normal species could endure them. Only monsters. Only nightmares. Only things the galaxy avoided at all costs. Who built this? One explorer whispered. A species that doesn't exist anymore, another replied shakily. A species that shouldn't exist. The commander of Viatha, a calm and cautious scholar named Tareth, stared at the vessel's size, easily 10 times larger than their own ship. It's damaged, he murmured. Life support minimal. Engines dead. No movement. So it's empty? Asked a younger explorer hopefully. But their scanners suddenly spiked again. Biological signatures detected inside. Unknown species. Multiple. The crew stiffened. Should we retreat? Someone asked, voice shaking. A Class III vessel is too dangerous. That is exactly why we must investigate, Tareth said, though even his voice trembled slightly. We cannot leave something like this drifting. What if pirates find it? What if the wrong empire recovers it? Each explorer slowly understood. Something this powerful, this ancient, could shift the balance of the galaxy. Tareth opened the comm, his voice steady. Prepare boarding team. Full armor. Stay close. Their small shuttle drifted toward the giant vessel like a leaf approaching a sleeping dragon. The moment they reached the outer hull, they realized just how wrong their assumptions were. The metal felt warm, like a beast holding breath. Strange scars glowed faintly as if remembering fire. The entrance hatch was sealed shut, fused by time, until it wasn't. The moment their shuttle touched the hull, the hatch suddenly hissed and unsealed itself, metal folding back like an obedient creature responding to a master's call. The explorers froze in mid-motion. We didn't do that. Did we? No, Tareth whispered. The ship opened for us. Lights flickered inside, weak at first, then stronger, guiding them deeper into the corridor like silent glowing eyes watching them from the dark. The air inside was cold but breathable. Gravity remained stable. It was as if the ship were waking up. Taretha's heart hammered as they walked down the hallway, their footsteps echoing far too loudly. This ship is alive, he whispered. Not biologically, but aware. They reached a massive sealed door, clearly leading to the bridge. Tareth hesitated, waiting, wondering if the door would remain closed. It didn't. The door slid open with a slow metallic sigh, revealing the darkest secret of the vessel. Inside the bridge, lined in 2 perfect rows, were cryopods. Not 1 or 2. Dozens. Each one frosted from centuries asleep, lights blinking softly, quietly, patiently. And inside each pod, a human. The explorers stopped breathing. The galaxy's most dangerous species, legendary, feared, avoided, was right in front of them. Sleeping peacefully inside a Deathworld-class ship. Tareth staggered backward. No, no, this can't be real. They are myth. They are stories. But the scanners did not lie. Humans. From Earth. A species classified as Class I Deathworlders, capable of surviving storms that cracked continents, predators larger than shuttles, chemical oceans, and gravitational fields that crushed most alien skeletons. Most species considered humans unstoppable, unpredictable, terrifying. But there they were. Vulnerable. Sleeping. Frozen in time inside a broken ship no one should have found. One explorer whispered, voice trembling, "Why would humans be here? Why in this system?" Another gasped as he glanced at the ship's hull markings. This vessel, it's older than any human craft recorded. Thousands of years older. Tareth felt cold sweat run down his neck. No, these humans didn't build this ship. They inherited it. Or they stole it. Or they repaired it. But they didn't build it. The room fell silent again. Then, the cryopods flickered. One flicker. 2. 3. Lights brightened. Frost cracked. A low hum filled the air, the ship's power core rising from centuries of sleep. The explorers panicked. Why are the pods activating? We didn't touch anything. Is the ship waking them? Tareth stumbled backward as one pod flashed a bright red warning. Then another. Then all of them. Cryo-release sequence initiated. The explorers screamed. We need to retreat. Now! But the doors behind them slammed shut. The lights turned red. The ship scanned them, projecting their species data in holographic text. It was analyzing them, studying them, reading their DNA. Tareth felt his pulse pounding in his throat. This ship, it isn't protecting them from us, he whispered shakily. It is protecting us from them. The hum grew louder. Frost shattered completely. A human hand pressed against the glass of a cryopod. Eyes opened, silver blue, sharp, focused, deadly even after centuries of sleep. The pod hissed open with a metallic gasp. The human stepped out, tall, scarred, built like someone forged from iron and violent storms. He looked around slowly until his gaze landed on the terrified explorers. He did not attack. He did not speak. He simply stared, as if trying to remember what language to use after centuries asleep. Then his voice came out low, rough, powerful. Who woke us? The explorers trembled. Tareth could barely form words. We found your ship. We thought it was empty. The human captain blinked, confused. Empty. He looked around at the bridge, then at the pod lights blinking awake one by one. How long were we asleep? Tareth swallowed. Our instruments say, at least 800 years. The human's expression did not change, but something in his eyes darkened. Then the Leviathan War, he inhaled slowly. It must have ended. The explorers exchanged terrified glances. Leviathan War? No species had records of such a war. No empire remembered fighting anything by that name. What war? The humans stared at them for a long moment, so long it felt like the universe held its breath. Then he whispered the words that made every explorer's blood freeze. The war that killed every world in this system. The war we were fleeing. The ship groaned as if remembering the battle. Cryopods opened faster. Humans stepped out one by one. Some confused, some grim, some scanning the room with eyes too sharp for peace. Tareth backed away. If you were fleeing, then, what were you fleeing from? The human captain closed his eyes. When he opened them, they burned with a cold warning. Something worse than us. The explorers felt their legs weaken. The captain continued, voice like a quiet storm. We weren't supposed to wake up unless the threat returned. He looked at the ceiling, the ship's metal trembling with faint vibrations. If the ship activated us, then it detected something. His voice dropped to a whisper. Something old. Something dangerous. Something that should have died with our world. A deep rumble echoed through the vessel, shaking dust from the ceiling. Taratha's heart stopped. What is that? The captain slowly lifted his head. The reason we became Deathworlders. Lights went out. The ship roared awake. And the humans, now fully conscious, looked ready to finish a war the galaxy never knew existed. The bridge filled with misty white vapor as the cryopods unlocked one by one, each metallic chamber exhaling centuries of cold air that drifted around the alien explorers like ghostly breath. Every explorer stood frozen in place, their hands shaking, their armor systems flashing red alerts as if begging them to run. But there was nowhere to run. The doors were sealed. The ship had sealed them. The ship wanted them here, to witness something no one in the galaxy ever wanted to see. The first human, the captain, stood tall as the frost cleared from his shoulders. He stretched slowly, as if waking from a long, painful dream. His muscles tensed, scars pulling across skin hardened by a world far harsher than any alien mind could imagine. His eyes, cold, clear, bright, studded the room with a predator's calmness. Not anger, not panic, just awareness. Pure, sharp awareness. The explorers felt it like a weight on their chest. This was not a mind softened by peace. This was someone shaped by battle, born into danger, raised on a planet that tried to kill him every day. When he took a breath, the room shook. The other cryopods began to glow, showing silhouettes of more humans shifting, waking, breathing. The explorers felt their knees weaken as they realized the truth. This was not a crew of diplomats, or scientists, or colonists. This was a military unit. Warriors. Survival experts. Deathworlders in their purest form. Tarath swallowed hard, forcing his voice out. We're explorers. We found your distress signal. The human captain's gaze sharpened. We didn't send a signal. That single sentence made every alien heart skip. The distress beacon had activated on its own. The ship had called for help. The ship wanted witnesses. Wanted someone to know what was waking inside it. Behind the captain, another human stepped out of a pod, this one taller, armored with old combat plating scarred by blows that looked impossibly large. Another pod opened, revealing a woman with dark hair tied back, her expression calm but fierce, her hands flexing as if remembering the weight of old battles. A younger soldier stumbled out next, coughing, blinking rapidly at the unfamiliar faces of aliens around him. How long were we out? He muttered. Feels like centuries. Almost a millennium, Tarath whispered. 800 years, maybe more. The human soldiers exchanged looks, deep, heavy, filled with meaning no alien could understand. A mixture of grief, shock, and something else. Something darker. Something protective. The captain closed his eyes for a moment, steadying himself. When he opened them again, he spoke in a softer tone. Where is this system? Who controls it now? Tarath hesitated. No one. This is a dead system. Our charts say it fell long ago. The captain inhaled sharply, as though hearing about a grave of someone he once knew. The Leviathans. Tarath shook his head. We have no record of such creatures. No record of any battle here. The captain's jaw clenched. Then the galaxy forgot, or someone made them forget. That thought hit the explorers harder than any weapon. Why would anyone erase an entire war from history? Why hide something that destroyed planets? The humans walked slowly to the central table. Their boots made soft, threatening echoes. The ship reacted instantly. Lights brightened. Systems activated. Panels reformed. The entire vessel seemed to bow to their presence, like a loyal beast greeting its masters after centuries apart. One human touched the control panel. The moment his fingers grazed it, the ship pulsed, projecting ancient records across the air, flickering holograms of battles long gone. Planets burning. Creatures with wings of shadow swallowing entire fleets. Human soldiers screaming orders through static as their worlds fell behind them. Taratha's body trembled at the sight. What are those things? The human captain turned toward him, his expression grim but steady. Leviathan swarm. Apex predators from a different zone. They consume everything: metal, bone, energy, stars. The explorers gasped. Stars? Yes, he said calmly. Whole stars. The hologram showed one collapsing, its light devoured like a candle pinched by dark fingers. The explorers stumbled backward, horrified. One whispered, "How did your species fight something like that?" The captain replied, "We didn't fight alone. Many species once stood together." His face darkened. "And still, we lost." Another hologram flickered to life, showing humans boarding the Class 3 vessel in panic, loading civilians into cryopods, sealing the wounded into medical pods. The ship recorded every second of their desperation. "We made this ship our ark," the captain said softly. "We fled with whoever we could save." Another soldier whispered, voice breaking for the first time, "We thought we could restart somewhere new. We never imagined we'd be asleep this long." Tarath felt a knot tighten in his chest. These humans were not monsters. They were survivors running from something the rest of the galaxy had never met, never imagined, never prepared for. But then something happened that froze the blood of every alien explorer. The ship shook. Lights flickered red. Alarms echoed in a language older than human speech. One of the human soldiers stiffened. "That vibration. We know it." Another slowly backed toward the panel, staring at the readings. "No. No. That's impossible." Tarath panicked. "What is it? What does it mean?" The captain turned toward him, eyes cold as ice. "It means the Leviathan echoes followed our trail." The explorers collapsed in fear. But 800 years have passed." "They don't age," the captain replied. "They don't slow. They don't forget." The ship's deep engine groaned like an animal waking from hunger. Cryopod lids rattled. The lights dimmed, then surged back with violent brightness. The Class II Deathworld vessel was no longer resting. It was preparing. The captain walked to the center of the room, his shadow stretching under the red glow. "Explorers," he said slowly, "you need to understand something." Tarath forced himself to stand. What? The captain's voice was quiet, powerful, terrifying in its honesty. "We're not waking up because you found us. We're waking up because we're needed again." His eyes drifted toward the sealed viewports. "If the ship awakened us, it means the swarm is coming back." The explorers stood frozen, unable to breathe. The humans, now fully conscious, stretching muscles, checking old weapons, reinitializing suits, looked less like rescued survivors, and more like soldiers returning to a war no one else remembered. Tarath whispered shakily, "What will you do?" The captain raised his head, expression set like stone. "Finish what we started." And as the ship roared alive again, the explorers realized they had awakened something far more dangerous than a Deathworld vessel. They had awakened the last human warriors of a forgotten war, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The ship's hum grew louder as each human stepped further into wakefulness, their suits syncing with the vessel's systems automatically, as if the metal beneath their feet recognized them, remembered their pulse, their breath, their DNA. The alien explorers felt like intruders inside a living creature. Each vibration under the floor reminded them that this ship was not a machine but a survivor, scarred, ancient, built with the kind of brutality only a Deathworld species could endure. Tarath, still trembling from the earlier alarms, forced himself forward, his boots clicking weakly on the metal floor as he moved toward a large control panel near the bridge center. Strange symbols glowed faintly across the cracked screen. Symbols that didn't belong to any known alien language. "What script is this?" he whispered, voice shaking. The human captain approached him, studying the writing with a heavy sadness in his eyes. "It's old," he murmured. "Very old. This ship, it wasn't built in our time." The explorers looked at each other in confusion. "Not built by humans?" one of them asked. The captain shook his head slowly. "Not originally. Humans rebuilt it, reinforced it, adapted it. But the foundation," his voice grew lower. "It came from a Class II Deathworld older than Earth itself." That sentence hit the aliens like a physical blow. A Deathworld worse than Earth? A place even humans feared? The ship creaked above them, metal plates shifting like giant muscles adjusting after a deep sleep. The lights flickered before stabilizing, illuminating long claw marks etched into the bulkheads. Marks too deep, too wide, too powerful for any known species. One explorer stepped closer, brushing trembling fingers across a scar that looked more like something had tried to tear the ship apart from the outside. What made this? The captain stared at the claw marks with haunted eyes. Leviathan scouts. Small ones. The explorers froze. Small ones? Those gouges were the size of escape pods. The captain continued, they hunted us for months before we fled. Every world we stopped at fell soon after. The ship suddenly projected a shimmering hologram above the bridge, a map of the galaxy as it had been centuries ago. Stars flickered to life. Lines showed human migration routes. Red zones appeared one by one, each marking a world consumed. The explorers gasped as they saw entire clusters wiped clean, erased from history. This is impossible, Tareth whispered. No records show planets lost in these regions. The captain's expression was grim. Because someone erased the records. Another human, a woman with sharp eyes and steady hands, tapped a panel. Look at this. The projection zoomed into the heart of the ship, showing massive internal structures completely unlike modern design. Giant rotating rings, energy conduits pulsing with a strange blue fire, chambers shaped to withstand gravitational collapse. This ship wasn't built to travel, she said. It was built to survive. She touched another control, revealing hollow corridors filled with old cryopod fittings. Originally, it could hold hundreds, maybe thousands. The explorers stared in horror. Thousands of survivors? Where are they? The woman lowered her head. We lost them. One by one. Some died. Some were taken. Some never made it to the pods. Silence filled the bridge, heavy and suffocating. Then Tareth noticed something glowing on a nearby wall, a storage panel unlocking itself. Inside lay ancient human dog tags, worn and scratched from battle. He picked one up gently. These belong to your people. The captain nodded. They were loaded last. They stayed behind to cover our retreat. They fought until the last moment so the civilians could escape. His voice cracked slightly, just for a second, before returning to the calm, iron-hard tone of a commander. We promised we would wake up when it was time to finish the mission. Taratha's eyes widened. Your mission? What mission? The ship answered before any human could. The hologram shifted again, this time showing a massive creature of shadow and metal drifting through space like a living planet-sized nightmare. Wings of obsidian. Eyes like dying suns. A mouth large enough to swallow a moon. The explorers screamed and stumbled backward. What is that? The captain spoke softly, but the weight of his words crushed every alien's heart. A Leviathan Prime. The hologram zoomed into the creature's body, showing thousands of smaller swarm entities living inside its structure like parasites in a colossal hive. The swarm doesn't just destroy. It spreads, he continued. Each world they consume becomes a nest. Each nest becomes a new Leviathan. Tareth felt the floor tilt beneath him. Then your mission was to stop them, the captain finished. At any cost. The explorer's legs almost gave out. But you failed. The captain did not get angry. He simply looked tired. Inhumanly tired. We held them off long enough to save millions. Enough to buy time. But not enough to win. The ship groaned again. This time deeper, more urgent. Warning symbols flashed across panels. The explorer nearest to the window screamed as he pointed outside. Movement. Something is moving in the asteroid belt. The captain rushed forward, scanning the feed. The moment he saw the shapes, his face hardened. Leviathan echoes, he said. Remnants of the swarm. Some survived. The echoes emerged from the shadows, dark, insect-like machines with jagged wings and glowing red cores. They approached silently, like predators who had already chosen their prey. The ship reacted instantly. Bulkheads sealed. Lights turned blue. Weapons activated across the hull. The explorers shook violently. Is the ship attacking them on its own? The captain nodded. It remembers them. It was built to fight them. One explorer whispered through trembling lips, "This vessel, it's not a ship. It's a weapon." "No," the captain corrected, his eyes cold. "It's a shield." Another explorer breathed shakily. "Then, what are you?" The captain didn't smile, didn't boast, didn't threaten. He simply answered with the truth that froze every alien's blood. "We are the ones who survived long enough to finish what they started." The Leviathan echoes closed in. The ship prepared for war. And the explorers, trapped on a Deathworld-class vessel crewed by humans, finally understood the terrifying reality. They hadn't just found an abandoned warship. They had awakened a sleeping army. The moment the Leviathan echoes appeared on the scanners, the atmosphere inside the ship changed so sharply that even the air seemed to thicken. The lights dimmed to a deep battle blue, humming with energy so old and so powerful that the alien explorers felt it vibrating inside their chest like a second heartbeat. The Deathworld-class vessel was no longer waking. It was remembering what it was built for. Alarms pulsed in ancient tones that felt less like warnings and more like war cries stored in the metal for centuries. The explorers stood frozen, watching the scanner as more shapes emerged from the asteroid shadows. Sleek, black creatures of metal and bone, their wings jagged, their bodies twisting unnaturally as if they were alive but not truly living. Their red eyes burned like open wounds in the darkness. The ship's sensors automatically magnified the feed, showing the horrifying truth. Each echo had mouths lined with rotating metal teeth, claws shaped to puncture starship hulls, and glowing cores where stolen energy pulsed like a dying heartbeat. "They are smaller than the real Leviathans," the human woman whispered, her hand tightening around the rail. "But they are fast. Efficient. They don't retreat." Taratha's legs shook uncontrollably. How do we fight something like that?" The human captain didn't answer with fear. He answered with instinct. He moved straight to the control interface, his fingers gliding across the surface with natural precision. The ship responded instantly, almost gratefully, its systems syncing with him as if welcoming a long-lost partner. "Shields to full," he said calmly. The ship obeyed. Reactor to combat cycle. A deep thunder rolled through the hull. Weapon bays 3 through 7, online. Giant cannons rotated outward from the ship's torn metal like a titan stretching its arms. The explorers stared, trembling. They had never seen a ship respond with such loyalty, such hunger, such purpose. One echo darted forward, slamming into the ship's shields with a burst of violent red energy. The impact shook the corridors like an earthquake. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The explorers screamed. The humans didn't flinch. A young human soldier stepped forward, eyes sharp, muscles tense. "Same pattern as before," he muttered. "They test shields before swarming." Another soldier nodded. "They'll circle behind next." Tarath stared at them in disbelief. "How do you know exactly what they will do?" The soldier gave a humorless smile. "Because it's what they always do." The captain looked at his team. Positions. In an instant the humans transformed, no longer confused survivors waking from long sleep, but soldiers, strategists, survivors of nightmares no alien mind could comprehend. Each one moved to a different station with perfect coordination, their bodies remembering drills from 8 centuries ago with unnatural clarity. The captain activated a holomap, showing echo movement patterns. "They are splitting into 2 groups," he said. "Group Alpha will attack from front. Group Beta will try to tear through our rear armor." "Can they?" an explorer asked nervously. "If they hit the same spot 5 or 6 times," the captain replied. "But we won't let that happen." His voice held a quiet fire. A fire born on a planet that had crushed lesser species. The first major impact came like a meteor strike. 3 echoes rammed the forward shields, sending a cascade of blue sparks across the viewports. The explorers fell from the shockwave, clutching whatever they could to keep from sliding across the polished floor. One of them yelled, "We'll die in here." The human woman snapped her head toward him, eyes burning with cold determination. "Not today." Not while we are awake. The ship fired back, massive cannons unleashing beams of white energy that tore through the void like lightning forged from dying stars. 2 echoes exploded instantly, shredded into fragments that drifted away like ash. But the swarm didn't slow down. 10 more emerged, spiraling around the ship with inhuman speed, their movements frantic and unpredictable. They slammed into the hull, scraping, clawing, trying to pierce through. The sound of metal screaming filled the ship. The explorers covered their ears, their bodies shaking. One whispered through tears, "How do you live with this kind of fear?" A human soldier glanced at him with a steady, almost gentle expression. "We don't live with it. We live through it." The echoes regrouped, but the humans anticipated it. "Rotate shields," the captain ordered. "Redirect power to aft cannons." The ship obeyed instantly. A glowing barrier swept across the hull, absorbing another echo strike. Then the aft cannons fired, sending rippling bursts of energy that tore half the echoes apart in seconds. For one heartbeat, just one, it felt like victory. Then the ship jolted violently, thrown sideways as something massive collided with its rear quarter. An echo larger than the others clung to the ship, claws embedded deep, drilling into the hull like a parasite trying to reach the core. Sparks rained across the bridge. Warning symbols filled every screen. One explorer screamed, "It's breaking through. We're doomed." The captain didn't hesitate. He slammed his hand on the emergency override. "Deck 7, vent atmosphere." The aliens gasped. "That will kill anything there." "Exactly," the captain said. The ship obeyed. A roar echoed through the lower decks as air blasted outward, sucking the massive echo into space, tearing it away from the hull with brutal force. The moment it was free, a human soldier fired the venting thruster manually, launching the echo straight into a cannon blast that vaporized it instantly. Silence filled the bridge for a breathless moment. The swarm had been reduced to only 3 echo drones. They circled cautiously now, testing, probing, unsure. The humans didn't wait for them to decide. "Advance the ship," the captain ordered. "Target cores." The vessel surged forward like a predator pouncing on its prey. All cannons fired in unison, white fire, blue lightning, red plasma, tearing the last echoes apart in a blinding explosion that illuminated the dead system like a newborn star. The battle ended. The echoes were gone. The ship returned to stillness, its engines humming softly. The explorers collapsed in exhaustion, hearts racing, chests heaving. Not one human collapsed. Instead, they stood tall, scanning for danger, breathing calmly despite the chaos. Tarath looked at them with a mix of fear and awe. How can you fight like that? As if fear doesn't exist." The captain turned slowly, his eyes steady. "We don't ignore fear," he said softly. "We walk into it. Because if we don't, no one else will." The explorers realized then the true meaning of Deathworlders. Not brutality, not wild rage, not violence without reason. It was their ability to face nightmares and stand anyway. And this was only the echo. Not the real Leviathan. Smoke drifted through the air like thin gray threads as the great Deathworld-class vessel settled back into silence. Its cannons cooling, its shields dimming, its hull steaming from the brutal impact of the battle. The alien explorers lay scattered across the floor, their limbs shaking, their lungs burning as they tried to breathe through the adrenaline and terror that still gripped their bodies. The entire ship felt wounded, but alive in a way that echoed ancient instincts buried in its metal bones. The humans, however, stood tall in the center of the bridge, their breath steady, their eyes scanning every screen for remaining threats, their bodies still poised as if expecting another wave of echoes to appear any moment. To the explorers, it felt inhuman. How could anyone remain so calm after fighting monsters that could tear starships apart? Tarath pushed himself upright, gripping the console for support. His voice cracked as he spoke. How are you all standing?" The human captain looked at him, not with pride or arrogance, but with something heavier, experience. "Because stopping too early gets people killed," he said quietly. "Fear is allowed. Hesitation is not." One of the human soldiers crouched beside a control panel, opening an emergency toolkit with swift, practiced movements. She began fixing the damaged circuitry with her bare hands, ignoring the sparks that stung her knuckles. Another human was helping an explorer sit up, steadying him gently, checking him for injuries. That single gesture broke Taratha's breath. These warriors, these Deathworlders, who had fought like storms made of muscle and instinct, were now moving with softness. Compassion. Safety. The two extremes confused him. Why help us? He whispered. You could have left us. We were in your way. The young human who had saved him earlier paused before answering. We don't leave people behind, he said, voice calm but carrying a depth of meaning that pierced the explorers' hearts. That's what makes us human. Tarath stared at him, swallowing hard. Even if the people you save are strangers. The soldier nodded. Especially then. All around them, signs of the battle's violence remained. Scorch marks, melted steel, shattered panels. But the humans focused only on repair, protection, survival. The contrast was overwhelming. They were weapons made from compassion and trauma. Warriors shaped by tragedy but guided by heart. And the aliens finally understood why humans were feared. Not because they enjoyed violence, but because they could wield it with terrifying precision while still choosing kindness afterward. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. A deep pulse echoed through the walls. The humans froze mid-motion. Not in fear, but in recognition. The captain's eyes narrowed. That sound, the woman beside him nodded. Core memory sequence. Panels across the bridge unlocked themselves, glowing softly. A hologram began to form, faint at first, then clearer as energy gathered. Tarath held his breath as the image stabilized. It was a human. Not one on the ship. Someone older, dressed in thick tactical armor, face lined with exhaustion and grief. The recording began to speak with a trembling voice that still carried strength. If you are seeing this, then our mission has failed. The explorers felt cold wash through their bodies. The humans watched motionless. We could not stop the Leviathans. We could not save our worlds. We fought until the last breath, but the swarm kept coming. The hologram flickered, showing flashes of battle. Planets burning, starships torn open, humans fighting in desperate last stands. We launched the arcs. We loaded who we could. We sent our hope into the stars. He looked down as though imagining the soldiers on this ship. This vessel is one of our last attempts. A Class 3 modified arc. Not built to win. Built to endure. Built to run if nothing else is left. A soft gasp escaped an explorer. The human recording continued, pain dripping from each word. Those of you inside, you may be the final humans alive. If the Leviathans reach you, run. The explorers looked at each other in horror. Run? These humans? Run from anything? The idea seemed impossible. But the hologram wasn't finished. If you wake, it means the Leviathans still exist. You cannot face them alone. Find allies. Warn the galaxy. Do not repeat our mistakes. Do not fight in silence. The hologram dimmed, its final words breaking into static. And remember, humanity's strength is not its fists. It is its heart. Protect each other. Even now, even out there. The recording vanished. Silence swallowed the room like a blanket. No one moved. No one breathed. Tarath felt tears forming in his eyes. He wasn't even human, but the grief in the recording pierced him like a blade. You lost so much, he whispered. The human captain looked at him, a quiet storm behind his eyes. We didn't lose everything, he said softly. We're still alive. Another human added, and as long as we're alive, we keep fighting. For them. The explorers suddenly understood. This ship wasn't just a war machine. It was a graveyard. A memory. A promise that humanity never intended to break. But the moment of stillness shattered as a deafening alarm ripped through the ship. Sensors lit up like a sky full of angry stars. Taratha's heart dropped as he read the data. No, this can't be real. There are more echo signatures. Hundreds. The humans didn't panic. They didn't scream. They simply exchanged determined, Grim looks. The captain stepped forward, jaw tightening. Then it's starting again. Tareth felt terror crush his ribs. Starting? What is starting? The captain turned toward him slowly. The Second Leviathan War. The ship roared alive once more, and the explorers realized that everything they had seen so far was only the beginning. The alarms kept screaming through the vast corridors of the Deathworld-class vessel, vibrating through the walls like the heartbeat of a giant waking from centuries of pain. Red lights pulsed across the bridge, washing over the humans and alien explorers with a warning older than memory itself. The ship's sensors flashed incoming signals, hundreds of Leviathan echo signatures rising from dark corners of the dead system, crawling out of asteroid graves, emerging from the shadows of shattered moons. They moved like a terrible tide, slow at first, then faster, their cores glowing with hungry red light. Tareth felt cold sweat running down his spine. His voice shook as he whispered, "There are so many. How do we survive this?" The human captain didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout orders. He simply inhaled slowly, grounding himself, before speaking with a calm that did not belong in a moment like this. "First, you breathe." The explorers stared at him in disbelief. "Breathe." "Yes," he said softly. "If you panic, you die. If you calm your mind, you choose your next move." The alien explorers tried to follow his advice, but the growing swarm on the screens made their lungs tighten again. Meanwhile, the humans, those strange, impossible Deathworlders, stood with steady eyes and strong stances, their bodies tense but controlled, as if this moment was merely another chapter in a long nightmare they had learned to survive. The captain walked to the main console, hands moving across ancient controls with ease. "We can't fight them all," he said. "Not in this system. Not after so long a sleep." The young alien beside Tareth whimpered. "Then we're doomed." "No," the captain interrupted. "We move." With a single command, the entire ship shifted. Engines that had been silent for centuries roared awake like titanic beasts shaking the dust of ages from their metal bones. The sound shook the bridge, rattling consoles and vibrating deep in the explorers' chests. The woman soldier grinned slightly. "Feels like home." The ship surged forward, engines carving a path of blue-white fire through the darkness. The Leviathan echoes shrieked electronically and chased after them, but the humans responded with ruthless precision. "Redirect power to rear cannons," the captain ordered. "Drop decoys. Prepare jump drive." Panels lit up. Cannons rotated. A deep hum built inside the vessel, pulsing stronger with each second. The aliens clung to their seats, watching in disbelief as the humans coordinated their actions without hesitation. Every order was answered instantly. Every movement had purpose. Even injured soldiers kept working, from checking shield integrity to stabilizing the fusion coils. This wasn't desperation. It was discipline. The discipline of a species that had lived through extinction once and refused to experience it again. "Jump drive charged," a soldier called. The captain studied the incoming swarm. More echoes appeared. Hundreds. Thousands. The explorers had never imagined such a horror. The captain had. He had seen far worse. He nodded once. "Execute." The universe bent. The stars twisted. The great Deathworld vessel vanished into a blinding tunnel of blue light, tearing out of the dead system with a roar that shook the empty void behind them. The echoes screeched as the ship escaped, left spinning inside the collapsing gravity shadows. The explorers collapsed into their chairs, gasping, shaking, unable to speak. They had survived. Barely. When the ship emerged from the jump, drifting into a calmer region of space, the explorers slowly regained their senses. The humans moved right into action, running diagnostics, patching leaks, repairing weapons. Tareth watched them, overwhelmed by something deeper than fear. Respect. Awe. Confusion. Finally, he asked the question that had been burning in his chest since the moment they first awoke. "Why did you let us stay alive? You could have thrown us off the ship. You could have escaped alone." The captain paused, looking at him with eyes that held not violence, but weight. "Because someone has to warn the galaxy," he said quietly. "And you are witnesses now." The woman soldier added gently, "You saw the swarm. You saw what follows them. If the galaxy ignores us again, billions will die." Taratha's breath caught. Again. The captain nodded. "We asked for help once. We begged. We sent recordings. We warned every council, every empire we could reach." His voice tightened, painful, angry, still grieving after 800 years. No one listened. They said humans were exaggerating. They said we were overreacting. They said nothing could threaten the galaxy. The explorers felt their stomachs twist. 8 centuries of silence. Entire worlds forgotten. An entire species erased from history. The captain placed a hand on the console, staring into the starfield stretched before them. "We lost everything because the galaxy did nothing." He turned to Tarath. "Don't let that happen again." Silence settled over the bridge, heavy, emotional, heartbreaking. The aliens bowed their heads, realizing the unbearable truth. The humans didn't wake up to save themselves. They woke up to save everyone. A soft alarm chimed. The navigator checked the readings. "Sir, we're approaching inhabited space." The explorers' hearts jumped. Home. Communication. Safety. The captain shook his head. "Not yet." He tapped the screen, zooming in on the approaching sector. "We can't enter openly. If they see this ship, they will panic. We need diplomatic channels. We need them to hear the truth before they see the weapon." The woman smiled faintly. "So we start small. One world. One council. One alliance." Tarath stood, still trembling but determined. "We will help you. The galaxy must hear this. We will carry your message." The captain nodded slowly. "Good." He looked at the stars again, each one a memory of a world lost, a friend burned, a home destroyed. "Because the Leviathans won't stop." His voice lowered into a cold whisper that filled every soul on the ship with dread. "They never stop." The ship's engines ignited again, brighter this time, carrying the last survivors of humanity back toward the galaxy that had forgotten them. Not as ghosts. Not as relics. But as a warning. As a storm. As Deathworlders returning to finish a war 800 years old. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy would hear humanity speak again. Not in fear, but in fire.